Welcome to World Cinema Reviews. This is your host, Frank the Vamp. And tonight we continue honoring Wes Craven by looking at another one of his films. But this is a defending the movie uh, installment. So that means that we're going to talk about a movie that is not really appreciated or loved by most. In fact, we're going to talk about what some people think is the bottom of the barrel. This movie is hated by tons. Excuse me, and you'll understand why in a moment. We're talking about Vampire in Brooklyn. Vampire in Brooklyn, made in 1995, directed by the awesome Wes Craven, starring the very talented Eddie Murphy, the very beautiful and talented Angela Bassett. Um, we also have pretty funny guy John Witherspoon from the Friday series that we seen him there. We also and we got another great comedy relief as he's called Kadeem Hardison as Julius Jones. Um, this movie, how can I begin saying this? Has a lot of potential. Had a lot of potential going in. Uh, However, this is the biggest problem of this movie, and I'm going to elaborate talking about it. Um, it's because this was meant to be a horror comedy, um, but this movie is just not very funny. I mean, besides John Witherspoon's lines, I mean, it falls into some really unfunny situations sometimes. But it actually has some very decent horror situations. So here's the problem: if you want to make a horror comedy, um, you go Dracula Dead and Loving It, uh, Saturday the 14th, the Monsters movie, Meet the Monsters, the TV series. You go totally cheesy, over the top, funny, and you got Eddie Murphy. You can totally do that. You could totally do that and get away and get a very good horror comedy. Or you can try to make a horror movie with some funny parts. The best ever would be An American Werewolf in London, where you have straight up very scary horror film. But then as a release time and part, we got some situations where it's really funny, at the porn theater, and what the corpses talk to Alex about, talk to the main character, trying to tell him, hey, you know what, kill yourself, man, because we're undead and we're gonna spend eternity in limbo if you don't do this crap. So yeah, I mean it works, but I think that's even harder. I mean, we got the Burbs. That's another great one that it manages to feel really creepy things with some scary things. But you know what? Here's the thing. That's really hard to do, and hardly anybody can pull it off. And this movie didn't decide to be one or the other, and it stayed as a failure in both. Now, having said that, is this movie completely throwaway and shouldn't you watch it and it's horrible? I completely disagree. There's a lot of good things to watch in this movie. And what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and defend this movie, and I'm gonna tell you why I think that this is still worth watching, because it's a very interesting thing. It's a very interesting thing that speaks a lot, not so much about Wes Craven, but it talks more about Eddie Murphy and his capacity of acting. Now, so this is very deep. It's a very deep discussion about a very silly movie. So stick around and let's talk Vampire in Brooklyn. So we got an awesome plot here with Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett, John Witherspoon, and made in 1995, like I said, and Kadeem Hardison, and it's about this Maximilian, the Caribbean vampire, coming over ship, type of, kind of like Dracula, right? Comes over to, through a ship, and everybody he kill everybody in the ship to feed, and kind of a ghost ship crashes into Brooklyn Bay there, and so it decides to go, and basically Maximilian is looking for his soulmate, that vampire bride that usually is a reincarnation, right, of thousands of years ago. In this case, it's more like a woman that's part vampire that needs to be awakened into vampiric, so becomes a full vampire, and then Maximilian and her can be together forever. So we got the plot of a pretty good horror movie, but I don't know where we have the plot of a comedy here. Yeah, I guess we're setting it in Brooklyn, and that's supposed to be funny because you're gonna meet all kinds of interesting and colorful characters. And yeah, some of that is done, but the main problem here, main problem, is Eddie Murphy is playing his role straight. He is Maximilian the vampire as a scary vampire. And in fact, let me tell you, he is scary and it works. But it doesn't work with everything else that's being trying to put there. I mean, the story and his acting they're not coherent. They don't work because now this is where the speculation begins. Wes Craven, awesome, where if somebody can make this happen is Wes Craven, right? So Wes tells, according to, this is not 100% confirmed, so don't quote me on this, but I read in the internet that he kept telling um, Murphy that you got to be committed when you play the vampire, and you know Murphy just wanted to play straight, he wanted to make this horror movie, and you know what? Perhaps that's where it should have gone, or he had to be more flexible. I remember my friend Grumpy Andrew telling me that you know we had this. There was a similar problem with Klaus Kinski. Where he didn't want to cooperate at all. He was just being an a hole, and while making the Nosferatu movies back in the 80s. It was very difficult. So Murphy, once you get an actor that doesn't want to do things that you want him to say, bad things happen. And this is Vampire in Brooklyn. I mean, we gotta. How can I say? Um, the gangster scene when they're beating up Julius Jones, and then Maximilian comes in and kills both of the gangsters. That's fantastic. I really liked it. I really hyped myself for this is gonna be a good horror movie. There's some funny parts and stuff, but that's not what we got. We got Eddie Murphy playing a over the top preacher. We got him playing an Italian gangster. So I'm trying. So am I watching? Um, Welcome to America, or are we watching, the Professor Clump there? Are we watching, the Naughty Professor, or are we watching a horror movie? And this is where it goes on. Now, Eddie Murphy, let me say, it's a talented guy. I want to praise Eddie Murphy. He's done great movies. Okay, believe it or not, young people, he's done more stuff than just Shrek. If you want to see him act very well, okay, you can go ahead and go back to uh, even before the 1980s. You can see a very good glimpse of his acting in the movie Dream Girls, and actually he won. I think he won a Golden Globe on that. And he, as a aging Motown singer that falls into drug abuse, and he can be a good actor. Now there are some movies that are just fantastic. He's done. From I love 48 Hours. I love Beverly Hills Cop. He's capable of making really good movies, but then he does the worst, shittiest movies you could ever find. I mean, Pluto Nash, Meet Dave. Um, well, there's something okay in Meet Dave, but oh man, oh yeah, let's go with a Haunted Mansion. How's that? Oh man, that's talk about something that is horrible. It's just unwatchable. It's hard to sit through. So I don't know if Eddie Murphy has a horrible agent that gets in bad roles, or maybe he just wants to be directed in a different way, you know, and come out with some really bad, crappy movies that he want to make his own, or he wants to direct his own, or I don't know. He's a mess. He's a mess. If you're watching this, Eddie Murphy, I love you, man. You're like a great talented actor. So why do you keep making really shitty decisions sometimes? You know, just saying, brother. I love you. You're gonna be 100 million times more successful than I am. But if I can speak from the heart, man, make good movies. Make good movies because you're capable of doing it. And this movie could have been an awesome horror movie. I love the fact that he's suave. I love the way that he plays it straight. I totally see some good parts where it could have gone. The thing against the cop that was kind of falling in love with Angela Bassett, and he gets in between that, he in that love triangle type of thing. I could have seen a really good thing, mixing some funny things, but it didn't work that way. Now, what is worth watching, if anything, in this movie? Eddie Murphy, even though he didn't agree to play this straight. In fact, there's reports that he said that the whole fall the movie didn't work just because he has that wig, and people was just say, hell no, we hate the wig. Eddie, it's not the wig. It's the fact that you just didn't want to be directed. And Wes on several interviews, that's what he said. Hey, you know what? Shoot, what can you do if you want to make it one way and he goes another way? What can you do? He wanted Eddie to be silly. I mean, he just wanted to make a over the top horror comedy, but he was incorporating. So there was something there. Like I said, so now that you know my feelings of what went wrong, one went right. You know, um, Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett's great with her trying to convince herself that she's not going to become a vampire. She's really good. The chemistry between Eddie Murphy and Angela Bassett is actually very damn good. I can feel that. I can totally feel that. In fact, it's probably better than the chemistry that, well, or it's comparable with the chemistry between Gary Oldman and what's his girl from the Francis Ford Coppola's. Uh, Geez, I can't remember her name. I can't believe uh, I'm probably forgetting somebody from Beetlejuice, right? Oh man, I'm gonna be disowned, or I'm going dyslexic, or what's her name? Let me go ahead and find that out. That's unforgivable. How can I forget that? But let me check. Winona Ryder. So we have Winona Ryder. Yeah, I mean, there was really good chemistry, and it makes you want to watch it. Now, John Witherspoon's comedy is really funny when he's on, and if had they totally gone with just him being the comedic relief and everything being straight and just having him little, this could have been a very decent film. I would say that, okay, if Wes Craven was allowed to really direct this like it should have been directed, you know, I would say that he probably done the parts where it's scary and it's a chemistry between Maximilian and the Angela Bassett character, and you have them together, and that could have been, and then once a while cut to John Witherspoon's comedy. I will give this film a B plus to a B if it would have been done that way. We will cut all the Guido preacher crappy things that just not funny, not good. Here now, if that's how I think that the film should have been edited and cut. And I think Wes, I don't know if he would agree or not, but I think he would have liked it better than the end product, because he wasn't happy. He's always said, hey, you know what can you do if you want to do one thing and people are not helping you? So that would have been a very decent film. Oh, by the way, the music is really good. The atmosphere is really good. And I like the New York setting, which is something out of the ordinary. Not filming in Pennsylvania, I mean Transylvania or the Caribbean or go. But I think that this was the perfect setting. It had the right actors. It just the right actors didn't want to act that way. Eddie. So it's hard. A lot of people. Like I said, Eddie probably blame. Oh, they made me be ridiculous. They made me. Then you shouldn't have signed up for this film, bro. But so as it stands, right now, being real with you, as it stands, with all the problems, still we got the chemistry between. We have a very good straight up horror acting by Eddie Murphy, even though it was not requested that way. We have very good chemistry between the two main characters. We have a interesting story about the half vampire going turning into that. So there are things to watch. Um, and like I said, John Witherspoon's comedy. So this is, to me, straight up is a solid C. Some people say, "Oh, this is worse than ever." No, it's still a good watching, and I think that you know after watching it, you really it's so interesting to understand how hard was for West to make movies, man. You think directing is easy? You have no idea. You have to deal with a lot of egos, and Eddie Murphy's ego. I don't know where it was during this movie, but it was tough for West to deal with that, and so that's that. I can't say. Like I said, it could be the other way around. I mean, if you were to be honest, 'cause this is just a lot of hearsay and internet saying and notes. Could have been the other way. Could have been maybe Murphy wanted to make it better, and Wes was not hearing it, or Wes was not cooperating. So that's up to you to believe. What side do you believe? And trust me, many directors have done with this all the way back from the Christopher Lee movies and before. It's not easy to make horror films. FYI. So there you go. So I hope that intrigues you enough to watch a Vampire in Brooklyn, and I think it's worth at least a watch. It's a midnight watch or something. you haven't seen before, or something that would intrigue you. I definitely recommend you to see it at least once and see some interesting aspects of Wes Craven's directing and Eddie Murphy's acting. And you know what? I have a lot of respect for Eddie Murphy. No disrespect to Eddie Murphy. I think he's great. I just think on this film, he probably could have been a little bit more flexible, and or he should have discussed it with the producers and with Wes, and come up with a different movie. Because as it stands, it's a pretty mess. Not the worst, but but an interesting mess, if anything. So there you go. So that's whew, that's one of my hardest defending the movie, issues that I done, because it's really hard to defend this movie. But if you like this movie, let me know why. If you didn't like it, oh, please also let me know in the comments. Um, yeah, that's all I got to say for this one. So stay tuned for much more Wes Craven and Wes Craven month as we honor his memory. And subscribe. Take it easy. Be well. See you next time.